How semen retention unlocks siddhas, or psychic powers, in Kundalini awakening. So in this video, I wanted to talk about how the siddhas are related to both our semen retention journey in yoga and Kundalini awakening. How I've made other videos where I talk about the connection between holding the seed, holding the sperm inside the body for, at least up to a month at a time for most guys, if you want to master this energy and to continue that practice for life, for as long as you can, whether you're in a relationship or alone, and whether you practice full, chastity of body and everything, or you practice Tantra, which can be in the form of solo practice, self-pleasure, in a timely way, not overindulging in the senses, but becoming, one with the body, learning to use the body as to attract, the right partner. One should be comfortable with their own sexual energies. So start by circulating this energy, non-ejaculatory, practice for guys as well as for women. The siddhas and through basically abstinence and staying away from basically those lustful, whatever you could call sinful, low vibrational relationships, basically toxic relationships, staying away from those, because the yoni, especially the womb, the vagina, the pussy, whatever we're going to call the sacred woman, the sacred womb, sacred woman's parts, the yoni, as it is in Tantra, or the womb, holds the memory from each partner a woman slept with for up to, I think, 7 years without the proper womb healing, especially. So from the woman with herself, she can cultivate her sexual energy and start to heal her relationships with herself and her sexual energy and her pleasure, and begin to circulate that chi, or that psychic energy. In this, I'm talking more about, siddhas as a phenomenon and less as the specifics, where there is the more specific siddhas that don't necessarily only tie into semen retention. But I want to bring in the aspect for women as well, that if your partner isn't doing semen retention, he can benefit greatly from it. And you can still have, even more pleasurable experiences for the women, because they can begin to experience their climaxes, which take longer. And a man cultivates his own energy, and that allows for basically non-ejaculatory orgasm for the man, or the more total, complete, full body orgasm, rather than just an ejaculation, an expulsion of energy, as it should be stated. That, for one, you're going to have more psychic energy or spiritual energy, mental power, because all the energy that was going to reproduction, producing more sperm and seed, is now nutrifying your brain. All your nutrients have been stored and are recirculating, and you're now functioning at a higher level as a man, as a human being. For the woman, this is, there's great power, again, in her sexual energy, as a woman has, her menstrual cycle, which is a monthly thing, which is a little bit different. But a woman can learn to harness her energies, especially her sexual energies, and her womb energies, when she goes through her cleansing and ovulation and all that stuff, which is in tune with the moon, just like a man's, cycle of, his, basically the seed, the secretion, or the oils, producing from the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, and all the different glands, hypothalamus, all of the stuff working together in the brain to produce these oils. And, there's a whole science on this. You can check that out somewhere else. But, here I want to make it very simple and clear that, this will start to unlock your psychic abilities. And I don't mean you're going to just start levitating things and, you're seeing all these things. And it isn't about hallucination, and it isn't about manipulating the reality, because that's what people get stuck on, these siddhas and these psychic powers with the third eye, and they want to manipulate the reality, or they want to manipulate others, or they want to manipulate, whatever they want to manipulate. And you have to learn that basically the equal and opposite reaction that our reality depends upon, and how through consciously we'll start to realize that isn't, unless it's a beneficial response for every party involved, then it isn't manipulating the reality. It's co-creation or cooperation, which is ideally the co-creative, co-conscious state, or the God-conscious state that the human being can realize, whether man or woman. But again, I want to focus on the semen retention, because we've been on our journey, for years and years and years, and, following that at least monthly cycle of retaining that energy, and for other times going, months and months and months and months on end. and, even years without partners and all that stuff, basically to attract the right relationships, to build from within, build my own life, and build my own creations, co-creating with God, with Source, with Mother Nature, with Mother Gaia, Pachamama, Sophia, co-creating with her, and also co-creating with Christ and the consciousness, that Yeshua gave to us, which is salvation, which is the resurrection of the immortal soul, the immortal spirit within man and woman. And that comes through, a proper Kundalini awakening. Again, the sexual energy is directly related to the Kundalini awakening. So once you experience a higher level of Tantra with a woman or a man, however your relationships are going, then you will start to see that, your sexual energy is directly connected to the higher functioning. So we can either expel this energy and be controlled by the lustful, primal instincts and urges. And where you do want to have some of that passion and natural, affinity, you don't lose that. You may have more of that, especially a man on semen retention. You'll have more testosterone built up in your system, so you'll have more, sexual desire, you could say, but you have to channel that desire into something higher. As we like to say, your heart fire, rise higher. Go check out my song out, Heart Fire. That's F-I, heart, each heart, like the heart, beating in our heart. Fire, F-I-Y-A-H. Should be able to find it under my name. Go check out some of my other music too for those spiritual downloads and awakenings that our path has brought for us, as well as all the mantra meditations. And all that good stuff, So basically we got to work together in these times, and essentially to unlock the siddhis. People get so caught up on, like I said, manipulating reality and all that stuff, and maybe manifestation. You will start manifesting rapidly, even once these siddhis really start to develop. And so you have to be very mindful of what you're taking into your mind, to your mental, as well as what you're speaking into the reality. So those two things together, and then the feelings, the emotional states that you're operating from, you want to cultivate higher emotional states like gratitude, love, abundance, forgiveness, faith, compassion, empathy, enlightenment, all the higher states of realization, self-realization, God realization. Actualizing our intentions into reality. Then we aren't, again, manipulating, we are co-creating with the natural law, the natural way, which is nature, Mother Nature, or Kali Ma, Tara, Sophia. So many ways we can look at the great Mother Isis, Aset, from ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet. So many different traditions that point us to her as the universal source, the life giver. So as a man, we learn that seed within us to create life is very precious, and so we must cultivate that in devotion to our mother, to the goddess, to have that divine energy, to connect with nature. Even your psychic abilities will bring you into a closer connection with nature. Like you can feel the energy coming off of trees, and all this stuff is measurable by science now, but trees and waterfalls and rivers and all that stuff, rocks, crystals especially, minerals basically with rocks and rushing water going over them, have a lot of energy. So those places are high energy. You can start to really feel and tap into that energy. This is a psychic ability, being able to feel others' emotions, true empathy, when you're going beyond just sympathizing with people and that sort of emotional support that can even seem fake at times, that the world tends to give. But true empathy that comes from a place of just heart and feeling and listening, being open to another's place and another's experience. That's a really valuable skill to develop, and our psychic abilities as our field of energy, because you will be building, again, your semen, your vira, your ojas, and through the mantra chanting, you're developing tejas. You're transmuting the base energy, alchemizing the lower desires into, again, higher, through chanting, through mantra, devotion, bhakti, singing, song, music, meditation, as well as our yoga asana, moving, actually physically moving the energies within the body. I'm in the car right now. I'm doing a little trip up the road. I'll be where I'm going soon, but basically, staying moving and keeping our consciousness moving. That's the whole mantra meditation. We're keeping that energy circulating. We're not just stagnating, because when you build up this energy, you can get stagnant. That's why eventually you do need to probably, especially at a younger age, release that energy, at least, every once in a while, and basically recirculate your energy so you can develop new hormones and all that stuff. But there is a benefit to, going longer and longer periods of time to master your energy, instead of masturbating your life away, with porn addiction, and, guys probably do that multiple times a day. As I did it, like once a night when I was a young teenager. But I learned, luckily, at an early age. I quit all that stuff at like 17, and to understand that, like, I don't need to be addicted to something, masturbation specifically, and ejaculation. But then eventually, after a long periods of celibacy and abstinence and brahmacharya and all that good stuff, I learned Tantra, and basically how to cultivate the energy as well as still experience sexual pleasure even with yourself, and then again to cultivate that to be with the partner for longer periods for her pleasure and your own connection. So then you experience the true Tantra of lovemaking, which is that sacred union. And there's many books and things. Kama Sutra comes to mind, just people think that's what it's all about, and there is that, there's always more lovemaking and all that good stuff. But I want to encourage everyone on their solo path. That's the most important, is your connection with self, your connection with God and Goddess within you, and your actual Kundalini awakening, developing your gifts, your Siddhis. Like I said, I wanted to make this more general. Our Siddhis sometimes are like compassion, love, expanding our ability to feel. Anahata really opens up, and then we can feel, our energetic field expanding and connecting, especially with nature. Because people in the world, that don't have activated heart chakras and Kundalini awakening and all that stuff, they can't even experience these dimensions of reality most of the time. So only in certain places do people experience these things. So essentially, I want to encourage everyone on their solo path to keep going, especially the guys, practice semen retention, go for at least a few months, and, learn to cultivate your energy, actually circulate this energy, don't suppress it. But especially when it builds up, that's when, instead of releasing, like the urge, the animal instincts of the body would be, quickest way to get rid of it is to release it. Instead, you want to circulate this energy upwards. You pump it. You pump it up through the sacral and stomach locks and the Jalandhara, all the different bandhas, and you basically learn to circulate this energy. You pump it like the Kegel exercises do, when you're basically pumping the prostate gland and getting that energy to rise. Even that is a breath, with a mula bandha, as it's called in yoga. But a more modern way to look at it would be like that, just circulating that energy, making sure the lower pump is still activated and not completely blocked up is very important. Doing light massages with coconut oil, all that sort of stuff. So you learn to care for the body, care for it, and not be controlled by it, but rather, learn to cultivate these energies consciously, and also to realize that, any powers or gifts or abilities that come with it, like, give those to God, give that glory to Jah, give it to the Divine Mother, give it to the Most High, and you'll start to connect, back to source, basically back to spirit and nature. You'll see how it's like, you don't need that power. You can just be connected with the natural energy that's there, and on earth as in heaven, and that's more than enough. That's like, Jesus or Christ really taught us, that perfect love and compassion of the divine, of the Father, and on earth as in heaven. So for the mother as well, to love one another with that is the ultimate law, the ultimate gift, the ultimate ability, psychic ability, if we want to go there even, is love and true compassion for not just one person, starting with connection to self and nature and God, and then with everybody else, forgiveness and compassion for everyone else, and that takes time. So I don't want to make this video too long, but I want to encourage everyone that whatever you're experiencing in your awakening, leave us a comment, reach out, and book an actual session with us so you can get into the yogic practices and tantric practices that help you further this energy, and I can give you that direct guidance of my years of experience and certifications, and give you those upgrades if you want, through our Reiki Usui Mastery. So you can hit us up at the links in the description and continue our practices to all the women. Blessed be the beloved Goddess in thee. to your finding and arising in this time to the occasion of healing, of conscious co-creation with, the balance of the masculine and the feminine energies, which can only come through basically that spiritual practice in sexual continence, or sexual alchemy, transmutation, transmuting again the base metals into gold. We're transmuting the base elements of the body into those higher substances. So for men and for women, build up your energies, connect with what is natural, and the body has all the secrets and psychic powers tapped into it already. You don't need any of these other phenomena. Whatever comes, just enjoy it. Enjoy the vision of a better reality, being able to envision your own reality rather than trying to see some cool thing or some image or whatever whatever's talked about out there. So lots of love. Focus less on the projection, focus on our perception. And when we focus on our perception, we can tune into why a yoga practice is so real. Again, why I offer my services, why yoga and Tantra and healing is so relevant in these times, and why sexual, energy is basically the foundation to all of our psychic gifts and our higher mental and brain functioning and higher organs, as well as, the actual chakras and gland system fully activating, because it all works together, starting from the root. If we get those glands in functioning, the higher glands, the pineal, pituitary, everything else will start to, in the brain, start to work on a higher level too. So remember, everything is connected, everything within us and is connected. So as within, so without. And we are so much more than we've been told to believe. Let's activate that potential. Join us, get connected, reach out for some lessons and services, and I hope to see you all soon. Ciao, love. Jai Kali. Ja Rastafari.